Hey friends, welcome back to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart, and you're listening to episode number 42. Today I have my friend Laurie Pilia, photographer and author of the incredible book, Kisses from Sardinia, here to tell us about her love story and her inspiration for this first book. It's so good. I just got it and I already love it. Laurie and I talk about her adventure across the world to find true love and also how in the heck she got it put down on paper. I truly believe that a book is a legacy, so I was itching to pick her brain about how she went about the process. You're listening to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart. Audacity is defined by Merriam-Webster as intrepid boldness or disregard for normal constraints. And that's exactly what we have here. The Live with Audacity podcast is aimed at giving you the courage to explore your someday dreams, do things your way, and start making things happen in your life right now. I'm a mama of 4 kiddos ranging from college student to kindergartner, wife to a high school football and track coach, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Together with my guests, we're going to teach you how to live with audacity and intentionality, discover and utilize your unique skills and talents, and step into who you are meant to be in order to make your someday dreams a reality. Are you ready? Here we go. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning back into the Live with Audacity podcast. I am so excited about today's episode because I get to have Laurie Pilia, author of Kisses from Sardinia and photographer on today. And we were just talking about how the coronavirus situation is affecting everyone. We actually were trying to get on our call and my internet was being a lunatic and it wouldn't let us on. And I was getting a little nervous about it because I was scared I wasn't going to get to talk to Laurie again today. So luckily, we are all here and we get to hang out. So, Laurie, tell us a little bit about your book and kind of how it came about.
Sure. So I think a good place to start would be back in 2015. I was at the beach with my mentor, and she's actually my basketball coach from when I was in middle school. And I was telling her how I felt unfulfilled, that my day job wasn't challenging me. I felt a little bit lost. Although in that moment, I felt like I should have felt like it was enough. I had a beautiful family. We had just bought a new house. Like everything was going really well. But inside, I just felt like there was more that I needed to be doing. And we talked a lot
Isn't
that
that
day.
always how it goes though?
And
Like you have everything that you ever, air quote wanted, but you're just like, "Ugh, I just still feel so unfulfilled." So, yeah, I'm excited to hear about that.
yeah, so one of the things she told me on that day, it really resonated with me. And she told me that sometimes our day job, what we have to do to make a living, isn't the thing that's going to fill your cup. And she said sometimes it can, but sometimes it can't. So, what she recommended was finding something outside of my day job to help be that sense of creativity that I was looking for, to challenge me and to maybe fill me in different ways than the job could at that time. So what I did that night is I went home and I remember listening to a podcast. During that time, they mentioned about writing your goals down and looking at them, putting them up on your wall, on your mirror. And so at that moment, I decided that I was going to dive into photography as well as I wanted to become an author. And the author, it came from having a lot of emails between my husband and I. And these emails were so special to me. And I thought, if nothing else, I can write these into a book and give it to my children to pass down and leave a legacy for my family.
Oh, that's
Um,
so cool.
yeah, but once I shared the emails with my mentor and a few friends, I knew that it was going to become so much more than just something for my family.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. Okay, so tell us about the book.
Sure. So a good place to start is probably just the overwhelming feeling of not knowing how to write a book, and where do you start and what does it take, and just knowing nothing about writing a book. It felt very overwhelming. And it took almost a year and a half after that meeting until I started writing the book. I had focused on photography so much during that year and a half, and I had built a business to where I was getting around 70 clients a year, meeting so many different families and really enjoying that. But the feeling of writing the book, it just never went away. And finally, one day my husband looked at me and he was like, "When are you going to do this?" And he suggested I reach back out to my mentor and ask for guidance from her. And so I sent her a message, and the next day I got this long message saying that she was just so excited and she knew I was ready now and she's ready to help me. So
Oh,
she started sending me emails of different editors, different cover designers, and just told me to start connecting with as many as I could until I found someone that really fit me. And she told me that the editing process is going to be one of the most important. And she was 100% right on
yeah.
with that information. So, this is the really cool part. When I reached out to the editor, she was in Indiana and her name was Krista. And we spent about an hour on the phone call, and we were talking about just all kinds of different things, her experience, what I'm trying to do. And when I told her that I knew the title of my book, but I didn't know how to write it, or really, I had these emails, it was very vague. And
Yeah.
I asked her if she had ever heard of Sardinia, because that was the title of my part of the title of my book. And she started laughing. And I'm like, "Why are you laughing?" And she ended up being from Sardinia, Indiana, which was such a
Oh, that's so
interesting
weird.
thing. Yeah. Of all people and places. And so that was something that really kind of felt meant to be at that moment.
Yeah,
And
that's
looking
so
back,
cool.
she was the right person to help me make this happen.
That's so awesome. Okay, so what does I know it's called Kisses from Sardinia. What does the book what's it about? And how I know it's letters between you and your husband. How did you guys meet?
Well, I think to start, I need to start a little bit before the meeting. When we went to write the book, one of the things she told me was, "These emails look really great, but they're not a complete book. You're going to need to do a lot more filling in gaps from before and after, because the emails were only about maybe 6 to 8 months of our relationship."
Uh-huh.
And
Okay.
so we decided to put a timeline together. We decided to start at my daughter's birth, and she was 2 years old when I met my husband on a trip to Ireland. And so
Okay.
we started at her birth, and then kind of filled in the backstory to how I got to this trip to Ireland to meet my husband.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Um, so the backstory is kind of the hardship part of the story. It kind of sets the stage of how I got to be a single parent with a 2 year old, and just some really hard times that I went through and overcame, and got to a place in my life where I was really content and happy, and kind of decided if I was going to be single and have this beautiful baby the rest of my life, that that was going to be okay with me. I really got to a place where I was happy just being me and having her. And then my best friend was taking a trip to Ireland to see her uncle and her family, who were all from Ireland. And she asked if I wanted to join her. And I had never left the country. I had never went on a big international trip. So it was a long shot that I would be able to go, but I spoke with my parents and they were happy to keep my then 2-year-old daughter while I went to Ireland for 6 days.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, and on those 6 days, we had just the most magical time. I got to see where my best friend had grew up. I met her family. We just traveled around on the buses and the trains and hiked mountains and went in town and just had a really awesome trip. And lo and behold, my now husband was friends with her uncle, and we attended her cousin's birthday party, and that's where we ended up meeting. And he's Italian. He was living in Ireland. The really cool thing is when I left Ireland, I had no idea I would ever speak to him again. We didn't really, I mean, we talked and hung out a little, but it wasn't during that trip that the connection was created.
Yeah.
Um,
These are my favorite stories because that it's just like it's like a movie, and I think all girls really love those those stories of love that are so unlikely, right?
mhm.
So yeah, tell me more. I need more.
Okay. So I think the next thing is when I met him, he asked me why I was single. And during that conversation, I didn't share that I had a child. I didn't share that I had been divorced. I didn't really share a lot because I had just met him and I didn't think I would ever see him again. So it wasn't the place or time to really share a lot about my life. So what I told him in that moment was I hadn't met the person who adds amazing happiness to my life. And until I did, I would be single. And so that was always a fun thing to look back on. But when I got home from that trip, everything kind of felt shifted. I had just lived in a different world, experienced something so different than the life in Ohio that I was living. And um, probably on the second day back, I received an email from Carlo, who's now my husband, asking if I would share pictures from the party that we both attended. And so I
Okay.
sent him pictures back, and one email led to another email. And he shared with me something personal about him that he had actually been dating a girl. And after meeting me and seeing the happiness in my eyes and just in the way I lived my life, it really led him to evaluate his life. And he decided that he wasn't living his true happiness. And so he ended up breaking up with his girlfriend, not in hopes that we would get together, but just to in hopes that he would live his life more fully.
Yeah, and more intentionally.
And of course, I was just like, tell me more. What's this about? And then it led to one email to another email. And finally, I had to share with him that I was divorced, I had a child. And I remember sending that email just thinking, like, is this going to be the last email that I hear from him? Because I
Oh,
had
yeah.
experienced some casual dating, and some people aren't into having children or don't want to take that responsibility on. So
Yes,
but
girl. I actually had a guy that I dated off and on for a while, and was yeah, I really, really was into him, and like 2 years later, after dating off and on, uh, he worked offshore, so, when he was home, then we would hang out, you know, and after 2 years, I was like, "Dude, what the heck is happening?" And he was like, "Oh, I just don't wanna be with somebody with kids." And I was like, "But I've had kids the whole time. What are you talking
yeah.
about?" So yeah, I totally know exactly where you're coming from when you get that lump in your throat having to tell someone like, "Hey, I have kids."
Yeah, and I think his response couldn't have been better or more solidifying to me. He wrote back telling me that life had presented me with some real challenges, but also with the best present a young woman could ever desire. And I was just like, are you real? Like, who are you? It was pretty interesting when I got that email back.
Yeah, that's so incredible. And so how long did you guys date via email?
So we emailed back and forth for around 3 months. Probably after a month, he finally, just was like, "Look, I need to meet you again. Would tell me what you think if I would come to America to meet you and your, Sophia." And my response was just, "What are you waiting for?" Because at that
Oh,
time, through these emails, we had gotten, very
really close.
close. Yeah, and so I was just so excited and ready for him to come and see if everything through these emails was the same in person.
Yeah. So what year was this that you guys were emailing back and forth?
2008.
2008. And so I guess like FaceTime and like Facebook Messenger video, whatever it's called, were not really a thing. Were you guys just emailing and texting, or um lay that out for me?
So there was Skype, but during the emails, we just emailed. I had never used Skype before, so we just sent these really long emails back and forth each day as and answering each other's questions, learning so much about each other.
Yeah.
But once we did officially meet, after that, we did start using Skype, which really
Yeah.
helped us to feel like we were staying closer together.
Okay, so when he came to America and you guys met for the first time, tell me about that meeting, because I can only imagine how incredible it was.
Yeah, so he ended up booking, we discussed like location and timing and what kind of would be the best way to do this. And we decided to meet in New York for just a long weekend before bringing him home to Ohio to meet my family and him to see my world. We decided to meet in a
Yeah,
more, and it was his first
neutral
trip to
location.
America. Yeah.
Yeah.
His first trip to America, my first trip to New York. So we
You're
met in
like,
New
"You
York.
don't your first trip, you don't wanna come to Ohio. Let's go somewhere."
Yeah. Yeah, so we met in New York and it was really interesting at first just being in his presence again after feeling so close to him through these emails. And then we met at the airport and just did like really magical things. We went on a dinner cruise the first night. We went to Central Park and rode in the carriage ride. We walked around and did some shopping. Just really enjoyed being with each other. And the second day of the trip, I remember I was kind of quiet and I didn't know what to say because I felt like I was just overwhelmed by so much emotion and understanding if what I felt was real now that we were together. And he just stayed with me and wasn't worried, but just stayed close to me and knew like I was processing everything. Well, and
Yeah.
then on the next day, which was a Sunday, I woke up just knowing that whatever was happening was right and just to enjoy it.
I love that. How did you process those emotions? Did you, like, take some time away, or you just, kind of thought about it for the day, or how did that work itself out?
Yeah, I think just thinking and really taking time to see what I was really feeling and was this person that's with me is do I like him for the right reasons and just making sure that it was real and not superficial because it definitely was a trip like I had never taken before, and I just wanted to make sure it was, for all the right reasons, and eventually I came to the decision that what I was feeling was it was really true.
Yeah, that's so cool. Oh, I just love this love
And
story. It's so beautiful. Okay, so you guys spend a weekend in New York, and then what
then we
happens?
spent 13 days in Ohio. So our first date was 17 days
Oh my
total.
god, that's so cool.
Yeah, it was so much fun. So
Oh,
I brought him to
wow.
Ohio. He met my family. He met Sophia, my daughter, who was 4 at the time. And we just did really basic stuff. He had never been to a Walmart, like all the traditional American things that you think of. He never had been to a fast food restaurant. He had never. Um, I remember he got a free refill at one of the restaurants, and in Europe you don't get free refills, so he was really concerned that they were charging him for a drink that he didn't order, and just all the small things that you take for granted. It was fun
Yeah.
to see him going through it for the first time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I bet that was so incredible. Well, I don't know if anyone else is wondering this, but I totally am. What was the fast food restaurant that you guys went to?
I took him to Arby's.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. Those curly fries, you can't beat them.
Yes, they are good.
Okay, so how did things go after he went back to Italy?
So saying goodbye was so hard because we had experienced just something that was on a different level, and not knowing how we would maintain that feeling being so far away was definitely a challenge, and not knowing when we would see each other next or just what was next. So, one of the first things he decided was that we were going to go ahead and book whatever the next time we would see each other right before he left. So, we decided that he would have me come and meet his family a few months later, which was in October, in Sardinia. So, having that trip planned really helped to have something to look forward to. And yes, it was sad, and we had to learn how to adapt our relationship again. But having that to look forward to made it all worth it.
Yeah, definitely. I would imagine that, being able to have that planned out and know that he's not just gonna go away and, you're never gonna see each other again, I think that's really valuable to be able to say, "Oh, okay, like, there is light at the end of the tunnel. I am going to see you again." I think that was probably the best decision that you guys made. Um, so so when you went to Italy to meet his family, how did that go?
Oh, it was so much fun. I just remember smiling a lot because I didn't understand what everyone was saying. But his mom made like just so much yummy food, and we spent a lot of time with his family. His sister graduated from law school during that trip, so I got to witness an Italian graduation. We went and to some of the most amazing beaches I've ever seen, and he showed me around his island, and just I tried probably 10 or 15 new foods that I had never tried. This seafood is really popular there. And
Yeah,
so, being from Ohio, I hadn't tried half the things I tried on that trip. I
that's
met
so
some of his
cool.
friends. Yeah, he just chauffeured me around and showed me everything about him. It
And
was
how long were
really
you
fun.
there?
That was like 6 days.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And so after that, how did the relationship progress?
So again, he was really big on always having our next trip planned. So the next trip, he decided he would come back to America for Christmas, which was only a couple months away. And he came back for, I want to say it was like a 10 to 15-day trip again. So another long one.
Yeah.
Um, and that time he just came to Ohio. I think we rented a cabin in Kentucky for a couple of days. He got to see snow, like a lot of snow for the first time. So we built snowmen, and being a single mom, like a lot of the time we just hung out and did things with Sophia, um, and just really spent a lot of quality time together.
So how did you know that you were gonna marry him?
Everything just felt so easy. And that type of relationship, I remember when I was single, I thought if I dated someone, I would want them to live like an hour closer so we didn't have to travel, and kind of created these weird guidelines that I thought I needed to stick with, where this relationship was the easiest relationship, and just the amount of trust that I felt from him and the amount of love and care. I knew that that would be like a dream come true for to get to spend my life with somebody like that.
That's incredible. And so how long, after you guys started, emailing, did you guys end up getting married?
So we emailed for like 3 or 4 months, and then once we had that first meeting in New York. After that, we did a lot more of Skype and like phone calls. And then we did a few more trips over that entire year. And then the following August, my daughter, who was 4 at that time, and I moved to Ireland.
Oh my gosh, that's so incredible.
Yeah, it
How
was.
did you decide to make that jump?
Well, we talked a lot about what's the best next step in order for us to be able to kind of see if what we're experiencing um, before choosing marriage, we wanted to live in the same location and just make sure
Yeah.
everything was right. And so I ended up applying to graduate school and getting accepted in Ireland. So that was the way I could go there, live, bring my daughter without having to get married, because otherwise you would have to have a work visa or
Yeah.
be married to a European to live there.
So after you guys lived in the same vicinity, how did that go?
So when we were planning the move, he committed to basically, I was going to go to school full time, so he would be supporting us. And he rented a house that had an extra bedroom. He got Sophia's room ready. He was visiting daycares before we came to help get that all set up for Sophia. And so we moved in. Sophia had a room ready. I went to school. I had to learn how to drive the car because they drive on the opposite side of the road and the opposite side of the car.
Yeah.
So that was
Crazy,
a
right?
huge hurdle to overcome when I first moved there. And just, I remember having to relearn how to do things that I took for granted here. Even going to
Yeah.
the grocery store felt like a challenge.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
you have to bring your own bags. You have to always have a €2 coin to get the cart. You have to actually bag your own groceries. I remember the first
So it's
grocery
like
trip.
Aldi.
Yes, yes. My
Oh,
first
okay, okay.
grocery trip, I did a almost like an American grocery where I got things for a full week, like how I grew up doing.
Mhm.
And the fridge that we had, it was smaller than the American fridge, so all my things didn't even fit when I got home.
Okay, so how do they actually shop? Do they go every day or every other day? How does that work?
I think more frequently, and it depends on the person, I would say,
And
but
probably more fresh
oh
foods
yeah.
than we tend to eat here.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
did your diet change while you were there? That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I think because I was living with an Italian, I probably had more Italian type food
Mhm.
than Irish. When we would go out to dinner, obviously we would eat at different pubs and different restaurants. So during that time, I would order more Irish type food. When I was in school, we had a cafeteria at the college I went to, and I always loved like the soups and the brown breads. They were made like a cream based soup that was a puree,
Okay.
um, and those were always nice. And you could just go into like a pub and grab a soup and bread and sit by the fire. And
Oh, that
um,
sounds so good.
it was,
Oh, man. Oh, yes, I need to go to Europe just for the food, and it's so funny. I have a friend in Italy, she's near Rome, and we always talk about how one of these days I'm gonna come to Europe and we're just gonna travel around everywhere and just eat all the food.
it's so good there. It
I
really
bet.
is.
Oh my gosh, so awesome. Okay, so jump us forward to, where you guys make this thing forever.
Yeah. So on my 30th birthday, he ended up proposing, and it was just like a magical, really special moment. And he still says I didn't say yes because I think I was overwhelmed with just happiness. I just was smiling so much. But I had around 3 or 4 months of school left. So it was in that first year that I lived there. And we started planning the wedding, and we decided that we wanted to get married somewhere warm and somewhere neutral to everywhere that our family lived. So we chose Barbados to have our wedding.
Oh, that sounds incredible.
And it was so nice. Everyone that came for 2 weeks. So it was like an extended vacation for everyone. We had around 30 people,
That's
and we all stayed
incredible.
in a villa together and just like enjoyed like island life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that sounds so amazing. Oh, so cool. And how did Sophia get on board? How did that relationship go? Because I know blending families is not the easiest thing in the world. How did you guys overcome that? Were there any struggles or anything like that?
Sophia's a strong-willed child, and she was used to having just her mommy to herself. So there was definitely some adjustment. Carlo did a really good job just spending a lot of time with her and playing with her. And I remember a lot of times when we would be out walking, he would be carrying her because in Europe you walk a lot, and she would be sleeping on his shoulder. So I think
Oh,
just the more time that we were able to spend together, the easier it got.
yeah.
Um, but she definitely gave him a run for his money at times.
Yes, I know, man, blending families is it's not for the faint of heart, that is for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so how did you guys decide to move back to America?
So funny story, we decided that we'd have Carlo apply for a green card, and that someday when we were both ready, we would have it kind of on standby. What we didn't know is after he received it, and after all the paperwork and the money and the time and um, everything we did, we got a notice saying, okay, now that you have it, you have to move back to America within 6 months. And
And you're
so that
like,
was
"Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it
I
was
guess
a
I
big
need to hurry up
shock.
and get ready."
Yeah, so we talked with my parents, and they agreed to let us stay with them because neither of us had jobs, and it was hard to even get a job when you're living in another country, moving back.
Yeah,
Um, so we ended up moving in with my parents in Indiana,
okay.
and we stayed with them for a couple months before Carlo ended up getting a job offer in Florida.
Sounds awesome. Oh, man. Was he, like, I mean, I would imagine that he's leaning on you saying, okay, I'm applying for these jobs. Where are the places that we are okay living? And did you guys travel around at all to try to decide what places y'all would be okay with? Or you just kind of winged it and said, pick from these areas? How did that work out?
So it was a little bit calculated. Prior to us moving back, Carlo had connected with an American company in the same industry as his. So he's a civil engineer, and they do survey and underground mapping.
Okay.
And the largest company in the world was they're headquartered in Tampa for his industry. So Florida was always kind of on our site. And then we had taken a trip together the year before I moved to Ireland to Florida to watch my uncle get married. And we both liked the warmer weather and the beaches. So we kind of had put it out to the universe that maybe someday we would live there, not knowing that it would happen so quickly.
Yeah. And how long have you guys been in Florida now?
Now it's been 8 years.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like it's going well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so cool. And update us on your family and how things are going now.
So in 2015, Carlo and I had our daughter Nora, and around that same time, we hired a lawyer and he adopted Sophia, so that it would just kind of complete everything. And my fear of if anything ever happened to me, know that Sophia will be taken care of,
Yeah.
um, was able to happen because her father never has been in her life. And it's always just been me and her. So it was important to me that if anything, she's taken
Yeah.
care of.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, I can only imagine. Um Wow, that is a very, very beautiful love story. Tell me a little bit about how obviously you kind of told us about why you decided to write the book. What are people going to learn from your book, Kisses from Sardinia?
So if I could even just read one paragraph, it's from the author's note in the back. It kind of sums everything up in such a perfect way.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so so it says, "This book comes from my desire to share my joy and give hope to others. You can make your own luck. You just have to be brave and step out of the box. There are opportunities in front of us every day. They may seem like nothing. Pay attention. Your life may be hiding behind a friend you have yet to make, a trip you have yet to take, or in a simple gesture like someone offering to drive you home after a long night of liberations and revelry. Visualize your dream, keep it in front of you, and you will live it. There is always hope. Some things are meant to be."
I love that so much. And honestly, it really makes me think that we go through our life and we collect these experiences, and then I know I can be I can be bad at this. Not bad. That bad's not the right word. But I tend to do this is where you collect all these experiences and then you say, "Oh, okay, all these experiences led me to this point." And think like, okay, I'm at the point I'm supposed to be at, which I totally believe is true, but you forget about the future and that at any moment something can come along and change the whole direction of your life. And that's so exciting, right? It's so exciting to be able to say, here's where I am right now, but you never know what tomorrow brings. And so I love that perspective on how you really just kind of tied that up in a bow and said, keep your mind open, keep your heart open, and see what happens. I love that.
Thanks.
The ultimate adventure. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I am looking forward to reading this because I think not all girls, most girls love a really good love story. So I think that's super awesome. Tell me a little bit about what were your struggles during getting the book put together? Were there any days where you were like, I am not totally sure if I want to keep doing this? Was there like, were there any challenges you had to work through?
Yes, definitely. So, like I had mentioned earlier, the beginning before I had hired the editor, I was pretty lost in understanding what to even do first. Once I hired her, she helped me to really organize and understand how to get the writing down. So that became a lot easier once I had her guidance and help and support. A lot of emails back and forth. We had a weekly hour call every Wednesday at 4 p.m. When I would be driving home from work, I would call her, and she would almost interview me because she would identify areas of my writing that needed more description or more information, because she said the reader would want to know that. And those are things
Yeah,
that I wouldn't have been able to probably pick up on. So
right.
that was probably the first area that I overcame. And then designing the cover, especially as a photographer, I really wanted to use something personal and that had meaning, but also encompassed like the meaning of the book. So that was
Yeah.
really challenging. And we went through so many different options. Talked to so many people to see what they thought. And in the end, I was able to use a picture that I took of my husband and my oldest daughter jumping in a sunset in Sardinia. So it just
Yeah.
kind of brought everything together.
Sorry, tell me the significance of the necklace.
The necklace was the very first present that Carlo ever gave to me, and he gave it to me in the hotel room in New York. And on
Oh,
it,
I love that.
he had it inscribed with our initials and then the saying 100% always. Because in our emails, we talked a lot about always wanting to live life at 100%, and it was kind of our common way of thinking.
I love that. That's so sweet. Oh man, that's so incredible. Okay, so where can we get the book?
So right now it's available on Amazon in both an ebook and paperback. If you just type in Kisses from Sardinia, it comes up.
And I will definitely make sure that I put this link in the show notes. This was so much fun. I love your love story. It's so beautiful.
Thank
Um,
you.
tell everybody. Oh, actually, let's do a quick rapid fire. What
Okay.
was a book, article, person, or talk that changed your life?
So I love reading, so I have lots, but if I had to pick one, I would say right when I became a single mother, I read a book called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting, and it was around kind of visualizing your future, law of attraction, and all of that was kind of a new concept to me. And at that time in my life, understanding kind of how to create positive change through the way you think it really changed my perspective and helped me to see the good and the lessons and everything.
Yes, I love that so much. I am definitely writing that down and adding it to my list. Because I love books about that, right? I love them so much. Um, what is your favorite Friday night at home with your family?
As a photographer, I think I really love taking my 4-year-old out and going on like adventures with her and taking pictures of her. So a lot of times around sunset on Friday nights, we'll go out and do little photo shoots. And then another favorite thing is Carlo can make really, really good homemade pizza. So a lot of times we'll have pizza night on Fridays as well.
Okay, so the next time I am near you, I will be sure to come over and have authentic Italian pizza at your house. Okay.
Yes, please. You are welcome anytime.
That would be so fun. And as we've already covered, food is the way to my heart. So, yeah. um, what was your dream job as a kid?
So as a kid, I was an athlete. I played sports every single day. So my dream job as a kid would have been an Olympic athlete.
I love that. And for what sport?
I played both softball and basketball. I ended up playing softball in college, but either would have been perfect
Yeah,
when I
that's
was a
so
kid.
cool. Oh man, that's so awesome. Hey, real fast, I wanted to touch on we mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, but I forgot to come back to it. You have a full-time job and you are also a photographer and now an author too. Um, tell everyone a little bit about what the experience was in having a full-time job and doing writing the book on the side and doing photography on the side, and how important it is to understand that just because the thing that you're doing, the thing that you love so much isn't like your career as a whole, why that's still okay and you're still you're still living into your purpose when you can do that.
Sure. So I think looking back, especially during the times when I really had to dedicate and kind of block time for each separate activity, um, one of the things that helped me the most was I put together a schedule and sat down with my husband and kind of told him this is the time I need. So, for example, on maybe Mondays and Wednesday nights after 8:30, he knew that he was going to be putting the children to bed that night, and those next few hours were going to be my time to focus on getting the book done, or if it was editing photos, but just blocking time out and having his support and helping really helped me to be able to accomplish my goals.
Yeah,
Definitely there was times where it felt overwhelming, but I was able to just sit down and look at the calendar and make sure I had time for each thing. And during that time I definitely didn't watch TV. I stayed really focused and made sure that the time I needed was put on the calendar.
I love that you said that, because it seems like when we are really passionate and focused on something, nothing is going to stand in our way. Um, how did you combat the times when you were really tired from work, and had stuff that you really needed to do, but you were just run down or tired? Like, did you make sure that you scheduled in time to rest and relax and spend time with your family, or did you just go, go, go until it was done and then say, okay, finally I'm done. Now I can watch some TV or hang out with my family?
Well, I definitely still I was really lucky that my job at the time, it was scheduled. I worked from 7 to 3:30. So I would get home by 4 o'clock and felt like I had quite a bit of time with my family. When we got home, we could go outside and play. We could, do the family stuff, have dinner together, have some time. And then around the time they went to bed, that's when I would stay up. And there was definitely some late nights. And I remember just thinking the next day, like, how am I ever going to wake up at 5 to go to work at 7?
Yeah.
But it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. Was there anything you had to put on the back burner as far as, I mean, obviously watching TV, but anything like um, your health or friends, or what did you have to sacrifice other than TV to meet your goals?
I don't think I really had to sacrifice anything else. I just really had to be focused and make sure that the time that I allotted, that I really maximized it during that time.
Yes,
Um,
I love that you said that. I am not so great at that, so I'm totally using this as a coaching moment for myself.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's interesting when I was listening to Ed Milet podcast yesterday, and he was saying he does like 6-hour work days and or 6-hour like segments to his day, and he was saying how it's amazing how much stuff you can get done in such a short amount of time if you tell yourself that's how much time you need to get it done in.
oh,
Whereas
girl,
if you
I
have all
know.
day, you'll take all day.
Yes, it's so true too. Oh, I love that guy.
I do
He's
too.
I love him so much. Anywho, I feel like we could just sit here and talk all day. Okay, what is the next vacation that you're planning with your family?
So Carlo and I have our 10-year anniversary this year. So we really are hopeful that we'll get to go to somewhere exotic together. We're thinking possibly Hawaii or somewhere just where there's beautiful beaches and that we can spend time together. My oldest daughter, who's 14, she wants to be a marine biologist. So the idea of us going to Hawaii without her is, she's let us know several times that that's not okay. So
That is not
depending
acceptable.
on depending on how all of the virus stuff pans out and when people are able to kind of go around again, we'll have to see if we were able to, take them and do something with them as well first. If not, they may end up coming on our trip with us.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay, I can't talk. Last question. Best advice to help our listeners live with audacity. What is it?
So my best advice would be just be true to who you are and go after what you believe is important to you. Never settling, and only you can create the life of your dreams.
Oh, I love that. Oh, so genius. Okay, tell everybody where we can find you, to learn more information about you. And of course, I will post the book link in the show notes.
So I have a couple websites. I have lauriepilia.com, and then I also have lauriepiliaphotography.com. So you can go to either of those. I'm also on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Um, the Facebook page for my book and for me being an author is Laurie Pilia Author. And then the other for photography is Laurie Pilia Photography.
Love it. Okay, awesome. I am so glad we got to talk today about your love story and really, honestly, your striving for your goals, even when you have a full-time job. I think that's incredible. And most of us think that, oh, okay, well, I got to quit my job so I can live my dreams. But that's not necessarily true. Now you get the best of both worlds, and I think that's really incredible. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, y'all, I had to jump in here real quick because I need a favor. If you are loving the Live with Audacity podcast, I need you to do me a big solid favor and share it with your friends, share it on social media, and go to the Apple iTunes link and click subscribe, rate it, review it. I need to know your feedback, and I want to keep putting this out for you, so I really need your help to get the message out. Thank you so, so much for your loyalty and your super kind and sweet words. They mean so terribly much to me.